Hey guys, Andrea here. I'm just out here today kind of doing a little bit of stuff because it's sunny, it's a beautiful day. So I like to try to do as much as I can in the winter and trim stuff up and kind of keep my beds mostly clean in the winter so that when spring comes and that big time when you're doing everything, you're not having to. So I like to keep stuff up so that in the winter when everything's kind of slowed down, we can keep stuff trimmed, keep the beds kind of cleaned up, and that way when it's time to plant, we don't have to do so much prep all at once. So this is an echinacea, so this part up here is the dead part, and these right here, these are the little seeds. And I have a ton of these, and I just take them off and throw them around so that they can grow new ones. So I'll just put it right here in this bed. So I'm gonna chop this part down with my little clippers. Just kind of throw that off to the side. Kind of get just some of this dead stuff out of here because there actually is a new little shoot coming up. I don't know if it'll survive because it's still pretty cold and we still have frost coming, so I'm just gonna go through and kind of pop out some of these little weeds just to keep them down so that hopefully they don't get too big. That one's got a pretty big root and I just throw them out of the little bed. And I'm also going to, this is some thyme right here. And I'm going to chop this dead stuff right here. So I'm going to chop some of this brown back. Just kind of get it out of the way, get it cleaned up for spring so that the green growth doesn't have too much trouble. And actually, if you do, for thyme especially, if you take it and you trim it back, it actually grows better in the spring when you get a good trim back on it. So I'm just finding the dead pieces. And then I've got this big weed right here. I'm gonna plop that out. I don't know what that is, what kind of weed it is, but we'll get that out of there. I think that's pretty much all I can trim on that. So that's all I can get here, but I got it a little cleaned up. And I'm just gonna come over here. I'm just gonna come over here and pull this weed out. Oh look, there's a little worm. Get him back under there. So I'm just gonna, that one was kind of in there and I think I took a little bit of the oregano with that, but that's okay. We've got all these little yarrow shoots coming up. So I'm gonna go to the other bed over here and I'll show you a tool that I like to use. I saw this tool, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called a stirrup hoe, maybe. I watched a YouTube video a couple years ago on a guy using it and I thought, oh, I need that. And it is great. It makes weeding so much easier to use that. So I'll show you guys how to use it. So this is the stirrup hoe, It's kind of like a regular hoe, but you don't chop like that with it. You do this. Just glide it, and it just pulls weeds right up. So like here's a little weed right here. There we go. He's up. He's gone. This is actually parsley, so I'm not gonna do that one, but like this right here. So you just tug on it, and he's gone. And in the summer, what I do is I just go around plants and just do this every day. So instead of me coming out here and having to pluck like this, all the weeds, because of course in the summer there's a lot more weeds than this. So instead of me having to come out here and bend over and pluck every single weed, I just bring this out and do that around all my plants, and it's super easy. And so I love this thing. If I had to choose one tool to keep, I would have this one, because this makes the weeds stay at bay a lot easier than having to come out and bend over and pick every single weed by hand every day. So I'm gonna get this one. So it was that simple. I just pulled that right up. That big old thing. Yeah, so this works really good for weeds. And I just come out every day and use this around my plants. And so as long as I keep up with it, they don't get too big and too many over the soil. So as long as I keep up with it and come out in the summer and do that, just run that over. And then the guy that I watched, he just left everything in the ground because he said, well, it will decompose and be good. But I like to go ahead and just, come and get all the weeds in a pile and just take them out of my garden, just so that they don't re-root, because here for me, I've had problems if I just rip them up and drop them, that they'll just re-root and start growing again. So I go ahead and I just rake them with this into a big pile when I'm doing this. So here's another one, and I'll just grab it, and I just make them into, get all the dirt off of them, get them into a pile, put it in a bucket, and take it out of the garden. And so this is a really good tool for keeping the weeds down. It's super easy. It's less time consuming than pulling every weed by hand, because you can go over a lot more ground with this a lot faster. So there's a couple more over there. I'm gonna go ahead and get up. So yeah, I just take this and that, yeah, that was a weed, and there's another one. So there's not a lot of weeds to do right now, but I just take them and either I'll throw them over the edge into the grass, or I will put them in a bucket and take them out. So let's see, I have some carrots here that I wanted to see. These were super small when winter started and it got really cold. So we will see if they actually are big or not. So and one way that you can check carrots is if you go around the carrot with your finger. This one's not that big, but I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, well, it didn't feel big at the top, but that's a pretty good sized carrot. Like this one right here, if you look at this one, you can see that there is nothing there. It's really small, so I'm just gonna put the dirt back over it. This one, because a lot of these, when the frost came through, their tops died back, but they've started regrowing again. And I feel a little, that's another okay size. So I've got a couple more right here. So I'm gonna pull this one. Oh, that's a really nice sized carrot. That's a really good one. We love fresh carrots, and I have a ton still in the refrigerator from when I harvested all my carrots. I left these because I felt them and I felt like they were a little too small, like this one right here. You can see that down there, how small it is. I'm just gonna leave that one. But you can see this one looks like it's a pretty good size. So I'll pull it. It's a nice size. Let's see about this one. That's a pretty, I mean, it's like a baby carrot. It's like a baby carrot, that's okay. So I'll throw those up there, let's see. Got a couple more here that I can check on. That one's pretty long. You can see this is the stuff where they had died back. And they're regrowing. These might not be as sweet. This one's kind of popping out of the ground. And that one doesn't really look that good. So I'll just throw that one. That one looks pretty good. That one's still really tiny. It's kind of popping out. Cover it. See if it don't survive any better. So, yeah, those are the carrots that I have. I think that's all the carrots that I have because I harvested all of my other ones before the frost because I wanted them to be super sweet still. So, I'm just going to take these and plop them in my little bucket here. Throw that in there. We could go see if there's some kale over here that's worth harvesting. So this kale died back, but this looks okay. That's an okay leaf. I probably should leave this because these leaves are pretty small. Let it try to come back. And there's my spinach, which I've come out here and got a lot of harvests off of this, but they're like, it's like baby spinach. Which baby spinach is okay. That's still good. And then I have some cilantro up here. But I'm not gonna mess with it because I just picked it the other day, so I need it to kind of regrow a little bit before I try to harvest it again. So yeah, if you're looking for a tool for weeds, that's Stir-A-Hoe, which is what I think it's called. And I got mine on Amazon, but I'm sure they have it at places like Lowe's and Home Depot. So that was a really good investment. I don't think it was more than $20, but you can do a whole bed or do a whole big area in a really small amount of time. So we went through and we did this area. I mean, of course, there's not a lot of weeds right now, but still, it's still really easy to use and it saves me so much time. So if you have a big garden, that's one thing that I would recommend. Not saying that I'm not out here doing weeds every day for long periods of time in the summer, because I am, but that's one thing that I bought, I think it was 2 years ago in the winter, so I could be prepared, and it has worked great. It saves me a lot of time out here as far as going through and doing weeds and keeping the garden clean, because I try my hardest to keep the weeds down, and I know we all do. So I just wanted to let you know what I do in my garden at this time of the year, and that is just go through and kind of, because it's kind of warming up a little bit during the day right now. Not much. I mean, we haven't had warm days, but some of the plants that are perennials are starting to try to grow back, which it's gonna frost again, so they'll probably not survive some more frosts, but that means that the weeds are coming back also. And it is definitely worth it to get out in your garden if you don't have them covered, because I don't have my beds covered with anything. So if you don't have them covered, then it's definitely a good time to get out here and just start. If you see weeds popping up, those, you know, early, well, I mean, it's winter, so winter weeds, but weeds that will start going to seed pretty soon, you want to just try to keep those at bay now.